been working through some rough weather, these storms and stuff, they kept going. They're contractors, they don't get paid unless they do, so. All right. It is now 6 o'clock. I'll call to order the Grayson County Board of Supervisors. Mr. Hayes, would you please an invocation and follow our purpose, please?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom we enjoy in this country. We thank you for the ability as citizens to self-govern. We thank you for our beautiful county and our communities that we represent. Father, I thank you for those that are in attendance tonight. Just give us clarity of thought, dear Lord, and help us to make good decisions that will benefit our citizens and our community. In all things, we'll give you thanks. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Everybody has looked over the agenda, the consent agenda. I look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye. Okay, it's 6:05. Guess we'll wait 6:05. What do you think? All right. I'll look for a motion going to public hearing to receive comments regarding establishment of tourism zone in Grayson County to encourage tourism related small business development.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
On favor, aye.
Aye.
So we're having public hearing. Do we have anybody that signed up? You have to be Mitch tonight.
No, sir.
Okay. You need to say anything, or you good? You just said all you want, huh? No one signed up. I'll look for motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye. Okay, public hearing is over. Kristen, she reports and presentations. Kristen, she here yet.
We need to approve the order.
No, I guess we did. Look for motion to approve the ordinance for a tourism zone.
So moved. Second.
On favor, aye. Good to go.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that needs to be a
Roll call.
roll call vote.
Okay. We could do that. I'll just see if you was in there. Roll call. Sir? Ms. Rebels?
Aye.
Mr. Ash?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
And I also aye. So
Thanks, Tracy.
hope you were satisfied, Mitch.
Thanks, sir.
Reports, presentations, we'll just go to Paul, Grayson County Emergency Service Director.
Kristen is here.
Oh, she is?
Yes, she is. She's here.
Okay, I thought she was.
Sorry.
Sorry, there weren't enough seats, so I was sitting out here.
Oh, sorry about that. We're up.
Oh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shepley, how are you this evening?
Good.
Thank you for a few minutes of your time this evening. Wanted to come before you to ask for additional appropriations of state and federal dollars. Currently, with the auxiliary grant implementation that we have here in Grayson County, and auxiliary grant, and let me explain what that is and why we're trying to pull down additional funds. We have more people that are elderly age, that are disabled and blind that receive these auxiliary grant payments. and it's a supplement to their SSI. And that number has risen here in Grayson County. So we need to pull down additional state and federal dollars to be able to supply that on a monthly basis, okay? So that, as well as we have secured some additional funding from the state, that we need to pull down some additional dollars for our new employment center that we are building here at Grayson County DSS to help bring down the unemployment rate. We have a view worker, and what she does is to help bring folks back to work. She goes out, she helps them find jobs, she will help transport them, help them with the ability to buy clothing, shoes, things of like that nature for appropriations for them to be able to go back to work. So the unemployment has gradually rose, as we have seen during COVID, and this is something we want to do to try to help bring that unemployment rate down and help get people back to work here in Grayson County. So that is the request for the additional $64,000 of state and federal dollars that we're asking for. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer those.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So if we approve this,
Yes, sir.
that's what you need in order, the money is already exists up there.
It does.
You just register a demand signal and the money flows if we say okay.
Well, it's a projected amount through the end of the year for these recipients that we need to finish out the fiscal year. And the General Assembly is what sets the price for the auxiliary grants. As of July 1, that money will be going up. The recipients will receive an additional $142 a month. In order to get through this fiscal year and the amount of people that we have that are now currently that have been screened and appropriated that money, we have to pull down the additional monies to cover that for this fiscal year. And then the new money that we're requesting for the state for our employment center is something new.
Okay, but there is money available.
Yes, sir, there is money,
To
yes.
cover this cost.
Yes, sir, there is.
You mentioned that the population of aging and blind, is that what you said?
Yes, sir, they qualify for this auxiliary grant.
Has gone up.
It's going up in Grayson County, yes, sir.
What was the number at the beginning of this FY and what has it gone up? It doesn't have to be a precise, if you got a percentage, I'm just curious.
I can tell you when I look back at the figures from 2017, the amount here in Grayson County we were paying out was $32,000 a year. It has increased right now at the end of COVID. As of this month, we're looking at almost $68,000 additional.
But is that driven by a number of people you're
Number of
serving?
people that are qualifying for this service, which means people that are elderly, disabled, and blind. The numbers are rising in Grayson County that qualify for this grant.
Okay, I think last question, what, the criteria to qualify, has that changed? Or
No, sir.
just more people are aware of the program or?
More people are calling and asking for the screening, and the screening process is done through DARS as well as the health department and one of our DSS workers. It's a 3-part screening that they have to go through and qualify for this grant. But there's just more people applying for it that are in need of it.
Okay.
We certainly want to meet that need.
Does this require any kind of match that we have to put up?
No additional
Okay,
local
okay.
match, yes,
So
sir.
you just need our.
I just need the appropriations to be appropriate for auditing purposes.
Just one more on the employment, that's separate to other things.
Yes.
Is that additional space that you're needing or how is that?
Well, we're making room for that.
So it's an additional person?
No, it's currently a person that's in that does our VIEW program. This is a part of her job at Grayson DSS.
Okay.
We're just expanding her job functions and roles of what she's doing to try to get more people back to work.
So
The employment center will have a place in our office where people can come in and she can help them do resumes. They will have a laptop that they can check out to go home and work on resumes. She can transport them back and forth to apply for jobs. Even we can curtail her hours, which she can work different hours to actually transport to get people back to work and then help purchase clothing and things of that nature with state and federal dollars to get them back to work.
Are you trying to force this into a space that's overcrowded? The reason I'm asking is that we have the Gate Center right down the bottom of the hill. Is that an option from
Currently, we have a little bit of space. I appreciate that, Mr. Fant. We may end up having to take you up on that down the
it
road.
ain't my call, just
Sure,
so you know.
sure.
But it's just an idea.
Yes.
If you're at busing at the senior space and you've got this outreach program that you're trying to implement, would it be helpful if it's at a different location that's not in this building, given the challenges that this building already has with space?
Perhaps, I want to see what the response is to this and how much we're going to be using this. It may be, we may need to put it out someplace else in the community.
When do you think it'll be operational?
We're hoping by May 1st. Equipment has been ordered. We're finalizing the plans as we speak. We wanted it April 1st, but we've had some slowdowns unfortunately due to COVID, but we're going to hopefully have it open by May 1st at the latest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Is this informational, what you have tonight, or we have to, just information?
Just information, yes.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Hall.
Good evening, members of the board, Chairman Belton. Appreciate the opportunity again to bring some of the activities of the emergency services folks to light. Tonight, we're presenting the culmination of a year's worth of effort on the part of the members of the Emergency Services Commission, some of whom are with us tonight. In light of
Paul, are you doing your update or are you doing the strategic plan?
the strategic plan. In light of all of the things that we've identified over the past several months that need to be addressed, we felt that the best mechanism for pursuing this is to create a strategic plan so that we can essentially monitor our activities, monitor our resource, and make sure that we're being efficient in the way that we're pursuing these. And it gives us some guidance. It is a living document, so when you look at it, understand that it's going to change regularly, and that's what we want. And please understand also that this is a product of the commission, the members of the commission. We started meeting about a year ago. We've had numerous meetings over that period of time in order to produce the plan that we put before you tonight. And there was a lot of effort on the part of both just members of the emergency services population and the leadership of those. In addition to identifying needs of the emergency services organizations within the county, we also bounced this against Grayson County's comprehensive plan to make sure that we were being consistent with the guidance that's provided there. We're not duplicating any efforts or ignoring anything that needs to be accomplished. The method for which we accomplished this, without going into a lot of detail, is essentially we started with creating two working groups, a fire working group and an EMS working group. We intentionally isolated communications, which is part of emergency services and certainly an area that needs improvement. But we have another mechanism for dealing with that. We're going to have a separate strategic plan dealing strictly with tactical and strategic communications, and that'll be coming later this summer. The two working groups each met individually numerous times, and over those times we went from brainstorming all the way down to taking information and inputs from the groups and kind of narrowing it down and focusing it. And then finally, at the end of that process, we took all the information from both groups, the working groups, and put it together into one plan that's consistent and kind of readable. The chairs of the working groups are with us tonight. Chief Billings represented the fire group, and he kind of kept that focus. And Chief Faulkner kind of headed up the EMS side of the house. But again, it was definitely a product of everybody's engagement. And we had really good attendance and participation by all members of the commission and a few people that weren't commission members. So the document that's before you is again, it's pretty much just a production of that work. And what we want to do now is kind of put it before you so you can see what we looked at, where we feel like we should go. And then we also want to talk a little bit about how we expect to be held accountable for what's in the plan. And to speak to that, essentially what we're going to do is all of our activities moving forward from the emergency services perspective, we'll bounce against this plan. We'll do this regularly. It'll be one of our normal commission meeting agenda items so that we can track progress that we've made, and we can also track issues that we've not addressed yet and that perhaps should be increased in importance or priority to the extent that we can. Recognize also that we don't expect to solve every problem identified in this. I wish we could. That'd be great. This is a 3-year plan as written, and we expect to take bites out of it. We'll make progress in certain areas, and to be completely frank, there's areas we probably won't do as well as we hope we will. But we will move forward, and we'll recognize areas based on this that also need to work, need to be developed. So it's a living document. The quarterly reports, those will also be presented as parts of your board package as you receive every month. And I'm certainly willing to take questions on that, as are the members of the commission. Said it is a 3-year plan, but it is identifying problems and areas that need improvement out to the 7 to 10 year area. By having a 3-year plan, it keeps us focused though, and keeps our resources moving a little bit more efficiently. We'll do an annual review of the plan and to make sure we understand where we're at with respect to the plan. And then every 3 years, we'll kind of go through this process again to create a new revised plan. Let's see. We identified hundreds of things that we would like to accomplish. There were hundreds of them. And I got pictures of the brainstorming where we literally covered the walls in this room with ideas from all of the folks that were participating. There was a lot of work involved in reducing all that data into a form that's easy to document, easy to follow, and also kind of maintain some kind of logical progression. And that's what we have it for you. We basically broke it into 7 core strategies that were identified by both working groups. And one of the things that was amazing to me, and I've gone through strategic planning processes numerous times over my various careers, and most of the time you're surprised by some things, but most of the time you really have an idea of where it's going when you start. In this case, what was amazing to me is we had the EMS working group and the fire working group that were completely separate, not by any design, but just because they were looking at different problems, different aspects of problems. But when we look at the data, we look at the output from those 2 working groups, they were essentially the same. It was the same problems affecting fire that are affecting EMS, which is really good because it allows us to focus things down on the plan itself. So 7 core strategies, we took those core strategies and we broke those down into strategic initiatives that are a little bit lower hierarchy, if you will. And then we looked at objectives for trying to accomplish those strategic initiatives. And then finally, the mechanism for making it all happen, putting legs on the street, if you will, is the action steps. So these are specific steps that we can report on saying, yes, we've done this, or no, we haven't, or we've made this amount of progress. And those action steps are really what will be the quarterly report that we present to you so that you can see where we're at. Excuse me. I'll give you an example of those as we go through. And I don't think it's valuable for your time to go line by line down this, and that was not my intention, but I did want to kind of talk about the mechanism and at least identify the core strategies we talked about. The first core strategy, and probably the biggest one that we would like to improve, is simply staffing improvements. Staffing improvements for both were critical, but EMS probably being more critical because of the consequences and the fact that we have less backup there. The second core strategy was improving our equipment, and we identified a lot of sub areas in that, a lot of strategic initiatives and objectives to help do that. And we broke the equipment improvement into 2 categories, vehicle and non-vehicle. The reason we did it that way is because A, they're separate problems. You can't really look at them the same way. And 2, they have separate funding streams, or the funding streams are very different for tactical equipment as opposed to apparatus and vehicles. Some of the things you'll see in there is the strategic initiatives are probably not unexpected. Some of them are things we talked about in the past. Some of them are new. Some of them were a surprise to me. And again, I think a lot of those things, when we talked about some of the things like phased replacement of equipment and stuff, that came up on the EMS side again and on the fire side. So, a lot of thought went into it, but it was still pretty amazing how much the ideas were coming. The third core strategy was improving funding to the agencies. And we've obviously talked about a lot of those things in the past, but we tried to lock some of those down and figure out how we can improve them. Some of these things we've already started working on. And, we didn't see any reason to wait until we had the plan complete to start moving through the process. The fourth core strategy was standardizing and improving operations. And again, there were several things there that came up. Some of these are low-hanging fruit, some of them are pretty easy to do. Some of them are honestly going to be really, really hard. Some of them are dependent on other things. There's things we can't do because communications is a challenge. And until we fix communications, we're not going to be able to solve all the operational communications issues that are associated with that. So these we didn't want to ignore it. It's still a problem and it still needs work. So we've identified and we'll work through the ones that we can. Talked about the equipment improvement already with respect to the vehicles. Core strategy 6, improving training. This is one of them, as you well know. We've already done some work on. We've had some successes, but we've also taken a hit this year. COVID shut down all training from the state, both on the EMS side and on the fire side for a long time, and on the DDIM side, the emergency manual side. So they're opening back up now. We're starting to have classes again. We've got 2 classes scheduled for next month in the county, and we got 4 other classes that are in line for this year. We'll get those. Right now, my big push on the training side, because we've done pretty well on the fire side, is to get another EMT class going and see if we can get some ALS training going. And we're talking about some of the ways we can do that. And then the last core strategy was just improving administration and coordination of the efforts that all of our folks are putting in. And some of these things are pretty easy again, some of them are going to be a challenge. The last page of the materials that I gave to Linda to present for y'all is this is an example page. This is what the action step pages will look like. So it's got the action step on the right. You see when we started. If it's a completed item, you'll see that also. And then you'll see notes for what we've accomplished during the period. And this will be a running process, and it'll basically stay as part of the plan all the way through until we rewrite the next one. So we'll have the automatic starting point for the next plan based on what's in this one. But hopefully, again, we'll identify new things also that we can address. Let's see. I think that's pretty much the biggest part of it. I can go ahead and answer any specific questions. And again, we have the officers from the commission that are here also that are willing to take questions on it. I've never done a strategic planning process with essentially 9 different organizations. I've done it within large organizations, certainly, but I thought it was really going to be a nightmare trying to create a plan based on input from 9 organizations with a lot of times not necessarily divergent goals, but different priorities. And what I found was the process worked extraordinarily well. I don't know about y'all, but to me, I didn't feel like it was 9 agencies working towards a common goal. It really felt like just one group pursuing a goal that is important to the county in general and to emergency services as a whole. So open for comments or questions.
What are you looking at me?
You always first.
Well, okay. Why does the number 1 man always go first? I don't know why. First of all, it's very, very good. I enjoyed going through it, and I think it's actually, I agree 100% that you need it, and the county needs it. First comment is administrative. The 2018 comprehensive plan deals with public facilities, public organizations. I think it's chapter 8. In your preamble, you mentioned strategic task 11. And I just want to make sure that you're using the current version of
not.
CP.
So the plan that I used, and this is my error, because I think that it was 2013 was the comprehensive plan.
Yeah. So that was my concern, is that I think we might be a little off, but again, administrative, I don't think between the two, the language is a whole lot different, but just want to make sure it's in line with the current version. Current version is under the planning commission on the webpage.
I can certainly update that to reflect that. I apologize for
No,
everyone.
it's okay, because the meat of the stuff is really good. And I like the fact that you referenced the comprehensive plan. I think we need to do that. And as Bill and I have talked multiple times about an implementation strategy, I think this is really what you have done. And I think you've set the standard for the other departments in the county on what an implementation plan can look like.
Yep.
You know, and so again, hats off to the group. The next comment has to do with the first task, SD1.1. In the language, you talk about improving agency staffing, I think is the language, right?
Yes, sir.
My concern with that language, though, is that since we've kind of been working together as the board to sustain the all-volunteer force, that's what we're really after. And from where I sit, using that language as your strategic task helps keep focus on that, because we've allocated money from workers' comp to other insurance, other things to help try to recruit folks into the all-volunteer force. So the language there for 1.1, in my opinion, again, not a directive, but in my opinion, should read sustain the all-volunteer force or sustain the volunteer manning, because that is really what we want to do, because the alternative is much more expensive and difficult, you know. And I think that, I just want that language, I think that language to be very clear and to be focused on the fact that we're trying to sustain our volunteer force in our manning is really, really important that we call that out very clearly.
Yes, sir. I'll take that back to the commission.
Yeah, just talking over, maybe around. And then I think the last thing is maybe to consider, this is really, I think, a decision for Bill, but this really almost becomes an annex to the comprehensive plan. I don't know how you want to structure the implementation plans as we try to move down this road. But it really, nesting it, which is what you've done with the comprehensive plan, and having it housed in one place where it's easily accessible. You know, we kind of sort of started that with the senior advocacy committee appendix or annex or whatever we call it. This may be, that one's not this. This is much more of an implementation document. But that may help us keep it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Does that make sense? All that
Yes, sir.
makes sense.
We can support that in whatever way you need.
Yeah, and to the team, just well done. It's a really, really good work.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you
job.
for that.
Great job.
I'll go to the number 2 now.
Good. I just appreciate it.
Appreciate all y'all's hard work.
Yeah, are these the two classes you got coming up for that? Where's that gonna be?
The first one, we're actually going to do it in Galax because they have a facility that we don't have within the county, but it is a Grayson County class, and that's a Mayday firefighter now. And that's a class by which we train our fire responders how to do self-rescues and how to rescue their teammates should they get in trouble in a burning building or any other situation. That's a 2-day class, and again, there's a specific training equipment that we need for that Galax Fire has, and they have the burn building for this region also. The second we have is what is the second one we have? Is it EVOC?
So we just had EVOC, it's the strategic.
That's right, we just had the EVOC, and we got the
Strategic.
strategy and tactics for initial company operations. So we actually have 3 on the calendar right now already. So yeah, they just did the EVOC, and that was a full class, I understand.
Yes, full and in, yes.
And of course, we expect full classes for a while now, because the city hadn't been able to have any. And the strategy and tactics, that's my bread and butter, that's my baby, I love teaching that.
You know, I got one out of line. You mentioned 3 years. Why 3 years?
General, just best practices, pretty typical for strategic.
I think for the first iteration of this, that makes sense, but the comprehensive plan is generally updated every 5 years. And so maybe after this first iteration, which 3 years will put you in line with the next update of the CP, then you all may want to do it, I mean, I think the CP is supposed to be evaluated every year anyway. But the update of that, you might want to just get in line with what the CP's process is. And that may be a conversation with you and Jada on how you want to do it, but that was the other comment.
And I'll take that back to commission also. I don't see why it'd be an issue. I will say, and it's kind of the point of strategic planning in a lot of respects is if we throw something in front of you for a budget request, I would expect questions on referring it right back to our plan and where possible back to the comp plan also.
Well, and I think showing that is how you then begin to get more support from grant requests and other that because it's tied back to your strategic documents. So I think you're absolutely spot on. No, I promise.
In fact, we had a meeting yesterday with Senator Tim Kaine and expressed our views about Grayson County's blessed with volunteers and just cruise it. And we really appreciate everybody. Nine organizations getting together as one. That's extraordinary. So we appreciate you.
I appreciate it too. Honestly, working with these guys from day one is.
Yeah, thank you for the whole committee, absolutely. Good work.
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, except Brian.
Next. Watson, you're right. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having me tonight. The update of the Rick Park activities, programs we got going on. What we have currently, new programs, our surveys, and update on travel ball. Currently, we just finished up our clinics for baseball and softball. Season's coming up. We're going to have clinics before every season from now on to get the kids that really need the most help going into seasons instead of just giving them to coaches and having to teach them position and everything. We're trying to get the fundamentals out of the way before the season starts. So we were fortunate enough to get 4 locations across the county to have these clinics. We have one at Fairview School, which I taught. We have one at Freeze Community Center, which our 8th grade baseball coaches and a Freeze coach taught. We had one at Grayson Highlands where our principal, Bobby Cheeks, and one of the coaches from up there helped with. And we had one of our varsity baseball players help here at Independence Elementary School. We had 67 kids participate in it, so it's pretty good for our first clinic. But like I said, we'll be having these before every season of every sport just to get the fundamentals out of the way and give the kids extra jump on the season. We also finished up cross country. They had their first season at the rec park. They used our trails for their 5K events. They hosted 3 events this year. Coach Austin and Testerman laid out the course for us. And, we actually used that same course back in the fall to have our own 5K for Halloween. We're going to have more of those going forward. Hopefully themed during holidays, like the Halloween was you dressed up and kids got prizes for that. It really went good, but now we got the course laid off good, so and the coaches from the cross country help with it every time, so it really helps us out. But getting those events here, put a lot of people on the course that had never seen our trails. Carroll County was here. Galax, a lot of people that never been on our facility really got to see it, so it really helped. We're also taking applications right now for baseball and softball season. The application deadlines are April 19th. We'll start our games up May 15th. We'll have our COVID restrictions. We've already had meetings a couple of times, but it's already changed every time we've done it. So we're going to wait till closer to season to get our regulations and our restrictions before the season starts. We did lose Carroll County in our Southwest Virginia League. Lost them to Dixie, but we did still have Galax, Freeze, Town, and Wythe County. Allegheny County's not doing anything for spring sports this year, so but they'll be back with us hopefully next year. But I have also contacted Ashe County, and we'll be playing them some this year. They requested and we requested, so it was a good fit there. They normally play Allegheny, like I said, they're not playing anybody, so maybe we can get some consistency playing with them. We're going to continue our kickball. That went over actually pretty well last fall. As for all ages, we had entire families show up and play together and had a really good time and a lot of really good feedback for that. I'm waiting to see what our baseball and softball schedules will be finalized. When we get those finalized, we'll set up some dates for that. But we've got field availability in the summertime. It's pretty tough, but we'll try to at least do that a couple of times a month this summer. We have umpire training tomorrow night at the Galax Rec Center. We always have requests to have the best trained umpires we can have. So we're having a certified umpires will be teaching that tomorrow night at Galax Rec Center at 6 o'clock. Ones that can't be there or don't want to attend, we do have a Zoom available for them. So everybody will get that available to them. The shelter and pool, right now the shelters are open for reservations. We sanitize them daily, sometimes twice a day. We're taking reservations for that and pool parties. Hopefully everything will keep us on track for that. We're currently working on getting the pool ready. It's drained and being cleaned now by the maintenance. We're going to open, if everything goes well, plan to open up Memorial Day, May 31st. New programs, like I said, we've done the 5K this year, and that went really well. And the kickball is kind of new. We're also trying to get more involved with seniors, help get seniors involved. One recommendation we had at our advisory board meeting was a senior swim walk type thing in the mornings before the public opens, probably 2 or 3 times a week. We also have a senior social walk that was mentioned that we could have up the main trail up there at the softball fields. Pickleball, we started that last year and had to shut it down pretty quick because we couldn't go inside. So we're going to try to start that back up. Again, that's for all ages. It's those of you who don't know what pickleball is, it's kind of a smaller version of tennis, but kind of a wiffle ball. So not a whole lot of movement when you play 2-on-2, so really all age groups can play. Another idea was weight loss program for the entire county. With these 4 locations, I'm hoping to keep in their good graces and using their gyms. We sanitized after we finished every time with our sprayer that we take from the park. So we can utilize those. And there's a program in Maine that was mentioned at our last board meeting called Lose a Ton. We have so many people in the county sign up and keep up with their weight loss, and hopefully, eventually, all the weight loss added up together will add up to a ton. We can say Grayson County lost a ton. So, something to get everybody involved, but we get those 4 locations. We can open it up for, like Highlands, they got a great basketball court. We can open it up for just walks. You can walk in the gym, just open gym for basketball, volleyball, just walking laps, anything to maybe once a week if we can get some volunteers to help us with it at different locations. They also had also mentioned the countywide presence. They wanted our direct park to have a countywide presence, and I think this could do it if we had something on a regular basis at each one of these schools across the county. I know Mr. Alexander had a meeting with Mr. Shepley and Mr. Smith the other day. Had a list of things that he brought up, and a lot of them have been addressed tonight and before. But he did have some other ideas like contacting Dr. James Newman from Radford. He's in charge of the Parks and Rec Tourism, Radford University. I think we sent him an email to have a meeting with him and just kind of pick his brain for some ideas that we could be doing that we're not doing right now. And we did mention internships, which actually we've had some internships. I've had about 2 years ago, I had an internship through JMU with a student who was going for the Parks and Recreation Management degree. And we're actually already have an intern for this summer from Mars Hill University. He's going for human health performance degree. He's going to help coach one of our teams. So we are utilizing some of that, but I'm sure he's got some things that hopefully he'll get in touch with us. We can talk to him about doing some things. County survey, Betsy Sharon, also on the board, has set up the survey from that. We got that on our website today, survey, so you can go to our website and click on the link to the survey. And we also put not only what people would like to see at the rec park, but we also had a request to see what people are looking for in the county and other departments also. So we involved that with our survey. So we'll get that back. But Carl's really helped us with our website, getting updates, and David's helped us too quite a bit. We've had a lot of help. Last thing I'd like to talk about the travel ball, but with COVID, I know Mr. Smith had a meeting earlier this week with Paul and the health department, and not really ready to give us the okay on our travel ball tournament right now with the COVID spikes, I guess. But I do have, that you're aware that Top Gun had been here before, and they bring 800 to 1,000 folks to these tournaments into the county on a weekend. And I've actually had 2 more organizations speak to me since then. Surge out at Withville, also a youth travel league that's wanting to come here and play. And another organization called Big Dog. It's a senior and adult league, softball and baseball. They're wanting to come here and play some, and they have big followings also. So when we get to go ahead, we could pretty much have a tournament in Grayson County almost every week there in summer and on into the fall. So like I said, it brings anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people into the county, but we're waiting for the go ahead on that. I've informed them that we're waiting until, I think Mr. Smith said maybe July to reevaluate and see where we're at, be able to have that. But that's a huge opportunity for our town and our county and businesses as soon as we can get that approved. But that's all I have. Got any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Facilities. How do you rate your facilities, playground, tennis courts, all the other things that you have up there other than just baseball and softball?
Our tennis courts are in pretty good shape. The surface, there's nothing that can be done about it according to the people I've talked to. It's going to crack, and we're going to have to get it fixed again probably in the next few years. But right now, it's in pretty good shape. Still looks good after, we had it resurfaced 2 years ago. So it's in pretty good shape. Our playground could need some updating. We could use a lot of updating on the
Is
playground.
that in your budget request
For the
playground?
playground nodes.
Do you have any facility upgrades in your budget request?
I do not. Our biggest problem with facilities is having an indoor place and something, like we have to depend on the high school for basketball. And that's our biggest holdup on, the biggest problem we have is not having an indoor facility or a gym that we can, call our own and actually make set schedules to do things.
Yeah, but the playground's not any of those. And
No.
so if your playground needs to be repaired or needs to be upgraded, why aren't we requesting that to be done?
I thought we had other concerns that I couldn't address. I've not really had any complaints about it. That's just something I'm off the top of my head. I mean, I've not had any complaints or any requests for playground. It's just,
Well, I've been up there a couple times and I agree with you. It's dated and it's worn and it's got some jagged parts to it. And so it may be as we look at this fitness deal for the county, there's a potential to get that upgraded and there's grant money and other monies available. So my thought is if you have facilities that you currently have but need some updating or some repairs, let's identify those and see if we can work it into the budget. What are your pool hours? When you open it on Memorial Day, what are the pool hours?
it's going to be, every day will be open. Well, Monday through Saturday will be 12 to 5. Sunday is 1 to 6. And we have family night on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. We're open from 6 to 8 in the evenings.
Why not open, I mean, if it's daylight till 9 o'clock or so, or even later, why not just keep the pool open in the summer hours late?
Well, we open it up at the evenings, other evenings besides Tuesdays and Thursdays for individuals to rent for pool parties. And they're full. We usually, we almost always fill up every date for that.
So you're renting out the pool after 5 o'clock?
Right, yeah. This year, we're just gonna do 6 to 8, you can rent it for your parties. And like I said, it's always, we got more requests than we can keep up with. We have to turn people away for those. It's really popular. Everybody wants to, there's frankly nothing else to do for parties around here. So it's a really good deal too that we offer for the 2 hours.
What's the fee?
It's $100 for 2 hours. And we provide 2 lifeguards. And basically, the facility is theirs to use. Nobody else is allowed to.
And then the picnic area and the pavilions that are up there, what's your take on those?
Those are 25 to
Yeah,
rent.
but I mean, as far as repair and updates, the
They're in
bathrooms up there,
Really good shape.
that's all I got.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How often are you using the gym at Grayson House?
Not as much
That's
as we
probably one of
should.
the best ones in the county. It sits vacant most of the time.
That's what we're working on right now. We have the clinics up there, and Mr. Cheeks has really worked with us well. And that's what we want to offer, start offering at like those 4 locations. We want to start offering something every week. And I know Mr. Alexander said in his principal that they opened it up for like I said, just for, pick up basketball game, open gym, just to wall laps but yeah, we are working with that. Yes.
That's it. So,
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Okay, let's go to, new business, surplus, sheriff's office, new weapon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a letter from, Richard Vaughn. Dear board members, for your information, Deputy Sergeant Rhonda Halsey retired effective February 28th, 2021, and is eligible to purchase her duty weapon for $1. This purchase is according to paragraph A of section 59.1-148.3 of the Code of Virginia, which allows any law enforcement officer who retires after at least 15 years of service to purchase a service weapon issued to him or her at a price of $1. Attached is a copy of the entire code section for your reference. Also enclosed is check number 10913 for $490 for the purchase of her duty weapon and her department issued rifle. The $489 is for the difference in the cost of replacement. I request that these unanticipated funds be reallocated into the sheriff's office equipment line item 100-31-200-00-8101. Please contact me if you have any questions concerning this transaction. Sincerely, Richard Vaughn, Sheriff of Grayson County. Motion approved.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, surplus, sheriff's department.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they have a 2013 Ford Explorer, VIN number 5951, white marked, has approximately 150,000 miles. Says it still runs, but getting in rough shape. Sounds like me.
You know, if that was, I mean, in the past, we'd offered them the school system, the automotive. I don't even know if they're doing automotive down there anymore, but, is it something they could use before we send it to it? If it still works, then.
Sure, we can
Really
check.
water.
Do they have the automotive piece still at this time?
I don't think they're doing it. I don't think they're doing
I didn't think they did either.
That,
All the mechanics have.
So they're not doing an automotive
I
anymore?
don't think so.
that was certified. They worked so hard to get certified,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're doing it now.
Well, I guess it doesn't make sense to offer it to the school and to work on. Okay,
Commercial motion.
so
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, next will be the budget calendar.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, everyone should have a copy of the budget calendar with the proposed changes highlighted in yellow. Is that? We are looking for your approval of these changes.
I guess my only question is, based on where you all are with the budget, and I guess we'll talk more about it on Tuesday, but are there enough work sessions left? I mean, do you think we're gonna get to where we need to be with the budget? And I think one more work session before we do the public hearing?
That's a good question. It might take two. You can take one long one or two medium sessions. It can be done in one, I believe. I think we're about maybe 75% of the way at this point. I would recommend that we, if we can add another one, that we do.
So don't add it right now, but if we need to, we.
Yeah,
And it Tuesday. We can talk about it.
okay.
But,
Good point.
looks like you're here to go out to, publication. Was it 421? For, public hearing?
So are you gonna be able to get in another work session before that?
What do you think, Linda?
If your all's calendars will allow it.
I mean, in that period of time, is there enough for you to work?
So maybe it's a change, the change then instead would be the date of when the public hearing is gonna occur. Maybe 1 week later.
When the ads due, it says the ads due on the 21st. If you got another work session in before that,
We could get another work session in as long as it was in, by the 28th. This is for our reminder that it needs to go in. So we can move it up a
It doesn't
week.
have to go in
It
on the
doesn't have to
21st.
go in on the 21st.
so
But
you
it
can move
would
that back.
need to on the 28th in order for us to meet our deadlines on coming out in the paper so many days before the actual meeting.
I think it would be good if we had another session to give a little more time.
So that would be a change too, then the 21st, so.
Because we haven't talked school budget yet, and we haven't reconciled the county budget.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of sausage to be made.
yeah, there still is, you're right. 2 sessions, which is just right.
We switch the 21st to a work session, and then sometime after that, the legal, with the ad would be due.
That works on my end.
Yeah,
It
that would-
works on your all's end.
That'd be good if you guys can do that.
Maybe a Wednesday, the 21st.
It's still good with the 8th, which is Monday, correct? No, it's Thursday.
Today's
Today's
Monday.
the 8th.
Today's
12th, I'm talking about, 12th is Monday.
12th is Monday, and that's when we have our budget work session
So
scheduled.
everybody's good with the 12th.
And I'm good with the 21st.
21st works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me. Okay. So
Then let's not do it if it works for everybody.
So we will add a budget work session on the 21st.
Wait a minute, Kenneth hadn't said.
Oh, sorry.
I'm good. You're just liable to change any day, but
Got a power outage scheduled for that day.
nothing on the schedule, that's the trouble.
Cool.
And that'd be 5:32. Everything well there. Okay.
It was good reason.
Sounds like budget's amended, we need to vote on budget calendar.
Yes.
Make a motion, we approve that. Your second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
Thank you, Mitch.
I'm still awake, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Okay, next, new business, request to hold a public hearing on May 13th on current FY 2021 budget, including first round of American Rescue Plan Act and 21-22.
Just so I'm clear on what that means is we're having to modify the 2021 budget because of the American Rescue Plan. And then we're gonna, that's what that means.
Yes, that's what it means. Yep.
Motion to approve the public hearing.
So,
Like,
Thank you.
Yeah, so
I'm next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Hope I didn't interrupt. I'm Andy Fowler, VDOT, and I'd like to discuss our preparations for the upcoming public hearing for the secondary secure plan for Grayson County. And let's see, I sent an email out providing the information for allocations for this upcoming secure plan. And the allocations for this upcoming plan is $674,592. And that basically equates to 3 miles that we can add to the secure plan.
Say again?
It equates to 3 miles of roadway at your all's discretion.
Mr. Chairman, could Amy move closer to the mic so I can hear?
Sorry, Mitch.
Is that,
Is that better?
can you hear now, Edge?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I guess I'm a little mic shy. Yeah, so basically we have $674,000 of allocations for the upcoming plan, and that equates to 3 miles of roads that we can add to the secure plan. And I had sent a list of Grayson County Rural Rustic Road requests that we were working from last year. I guess you guys all have a copy of that list. And basically, some of the roads on that list we did add last year for portions of those roads. One being Cornerstone Road, we added 0.3 miles, and I think we were looking at the possibility of maybe this year adding the additional or the remaining mile of that route. But basically, I'm open for whatever the board's wishes are as far as which roads you guys would like to choose for those 3 miles. And then 2, if you have any roads that are not on this list that you'd like to recommend, that we review and check to see if they qualify for the secure plan, be glad to do so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith asked if he could say something at this point to help clarify the whole process moving forward, if you don't mind.
Okay. You're at Edge. You wait.
No, I didn't. Yeah, what was said?
You had something to say about the 6-year plan?
Basically, yeah, I couldn't hear Andy that good. I apologize, but bottom line is $674,000 that we've got for 3 miles. And I know we sent out, Linda sent out to the supervisors their request. We got that from Supervisor Belton to extend Little River Road. From Supervisor Revels, we got Schoolhouse Road to Mud Creek, complete the paving to meet the pavement on Mud Creek, and then also to complete improvements on Low Gap Road. Supervisor Sutherland had to add Country Lane, and Jeff Russell had stated that this road and Archery Lane are already rusted paved and need to be tarred and gravel again. I spoke to Mr. Fowler the other day, and I think we agreed that that should be put on the maintenance plan, not the 6-year plan. Supervisor Ash and Supervisor Pant, they may have something tonight that they want to add, but that's the request we got.
Yeah, the one, I agree with the Cornerstone extension. The one that Supervisor Ash and I talked about is Hines Branch. About a mile of that, I think it's about 3.1 miles long, about a mile of it is already paved. It's a north-south road roughly, if you straighten it out. It goes west and east and south, but it's a pretty wide road, and it's one of the few roads that goes north to south from Spring Valley Road down to Carsonville Road. And so from a connector standpoint, the only paved road that goes north-south from the northern part of the county down to the center is 94 out of 3. All the other ones are dirt. And there's quite a bit of already residential, but there's quite a bit of development that's going on Hines Branch Road, Briar Patch Mountain. The section that I measured is about 2.1 miles long. So again, I know there's some other ones that have been nominated, so we'd have to look at it and maybe divide it up. But from where I sit, it looks like it would qualify for the rural rustic, but it would do a lot, I think, for that area, in addition to the fact that the fiber that APCO is running is going up that way too. So I think between helping mobility move north-south, the fiber and the development that's going on, it seems to me to make a lot of sense. I don't know what the traffic count is, but.
It's, I was just looking, it's 53, so it does qualify
Okay.
as far as traffic count. And then basically, as far as the other qualifications, if we can, we try to achieve 14 to 16 feet of roadway width. And we build more rustic, the rural rustic build process, basically, we build within the current alignment of the road.
Right.
And we, obviously, we can't purchase right away
Right.
or fund moving fencing.
Right.
So that's just a couple of things that we look at when we go out.
So
So
it looks like it meets all those criteria, but again, I'm not a trained eye.
yeah, so I will review that route.
And it appears to me like, you know, from where the hard top stops, there's been maybe some widening already and work done by the state. But that section is susceptible to a lot of washboarding and stuff, so that would be a big improvement for that road. It could be hard top and then on that washboarding and stuff.
Okay, so that's that 2.3 mile section.
I think it's about 2.1.
Okay.
From where the pavement is on Hines Branch to where you get on to Spring Valley Road.
Okay. I'll have that one reviewed. And then Mud Creek was mentioned in there,
And Low Gap,
and Little River, a section of Little River.
Low Gap.
Oh, okay.
Andy, when you say the
That's
count
correct.
the count is 53, that's 50, how is that?
It,
53 per what?
Per day,
Per day?
average per day. And the threshold was 50.
Okay.
So anything above 50 qualifies for rural rustic. And
I've been driving my tractor up and down the road, my road, it ain't working.
yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah. So did I hear Mitch in there too, Little River Road?
Yeah, that was my request, and this Little River's already on 6-year, just like to extend it. It makes a big loop and there's a lot of houses up there.
Okay. So what I'll do is I can review Hines Branch Road, Low Gap, Mud Creek, and the remaining section of Little River, and see if those all qualify. And then when we come back for the public hearing, then we can decide which sections. You know, this is a little over 3 miles, so we'll have to decide which one we want to add to meet that 3 mile limit.
Mr. Fowler, is it okay for the board to make that decision after the public hearing and all? How much time do they have before they, you know,
Yes.
each segment that has been qualified? How much time do they have to come to a consensus?
The end of May, so May 31st, so that there would be plenty of time, because, let's see, you have the meeting, when did you have the meeting set? I don't see the agenda.
Maybe
13th, May 13th, so yes, there would be plenty of time. So, at the end of the meeting on the 13th, we could vote for the 3 miles that you do want, then we would have plenty of time for the resolution and add those routes.
This will have nothing to do with this, the 6-year plan, but when you're down at Little River, would you look at that low water bridge? I don't know what it would take to get something done there before somebody is off that river.
All right, I'll start a little maintenance list on the side here for any maintenance requests that you guys have tonight.
I'm gonna be doing a drainage review tomorrow on the river, on the section that's in the 6-year plan, so we can take a look around.
All right, cool.
So check low water bridge. And just to clarify too, real quick.
I'm sorry.
The request.
I'm sorry, I'm not there, I can't see, so
Okay.
sorry for butting in. But one quick thing that I wanted to mention, Mr. Fowler, I don't know if there's any more follow-up discussion needs to happen on 2 Steep Lane from Supervisor Sutherland.
Yes, actually,
To get what you need there.
yes, actually, I brought my trusty sidekick with me, Pam Heath, and she's gonna speak on that. And actually, once I take all these requests, I'll let Pam come up and she can talk some more about 2 Steep Lane. And I think, Mr. Hash, you may have, I think you had a route that's a private route that you were looking at as well. So the same information will apply to both.
And I
Thank you.
also have a question about a road as well, but it's neither one of those things. So if we have a road called Too Steep, we gotta do something about that.
Right, yeah.
That's the name on it.
And that's what I'm saying, if it's called Too Steep, we need to do something.
Yeah, when Mitch contacted me about that route, I thought that's the best name for a route.
Yeah.
A literal name, right? So I was gonna mention that the route that you had mentioned that was already surface treated. Basically, the 6-year plan, the reason it doesn't qualify for these funds is the 6-year plan is dedicated solely to non-surface treated roads, stabilized dirt roads. And so that funding can only be used for that, but we will look at that. What route was it again?
Archery Lane and Country Lane.
And the reason what we can do with maintenance dollars on those roads, we'll look at it, look at the condition of the road and see if we can add those to the paving schedule.
Okay.
Archery Lane. And I'm sorry, what was the other route?
Country Lane.
Lane. Okay, so I'm gonna review these routes and we'll decide which ones you wanna choose out of those. If any of these do not qualify, what I'll do is I'll get back with Mitch pretty quick on the review of these routes. So you guys will have some time to mull over it and to, if any one of those does not qualify for whatever reason, I'll let Mitch know so you can be thinking maybe about another route.
And then I've got a separate question that I can wait till after
Okay.
he's done.
Before I bring Pam up, any other maintenance issues we'd like to, any of you have?
It's not, my issue is not a maintenance issue, it's more of a safety issue or potentially one. You want it now or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, I think it's Hardin Road, Hardin.
Okay, I'll save you some time.
Okay.
All right, I took that email, we've looked at that at that intersection before.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, for the benefit of everyone else, if you'd like to go ahead and explain.
Well, the question was, or the issue is that you're heading west on 58. You probably know, you're coming around, it's about, I don't know, a mile this side of the independent side of Independence Lumber. When you're heading west on 58, there's a right bend turn, and then if somebody's trying to make a left turn on the Hardin, there's no turn lane. But if somebody's traveling like those logging trucks are going at 55, you know, they go 55. There's not a whole lot of space there, and so the question was, is there a way to put a turn lane, widen it, do something from a safety standpoint to avoid, which I've seen some pretty close, some people moving at pretty good speeds.
Yes, and the biggest issue there, and we've reviewed this before.
Yeah.
And we've actually had traffic engineering there before. I think maybe 4 years ago or so, we had that intersection reviewed and we had contacted the current landowner as you're going from Independence toward Hardin Road, there's a bank inside that curve there, which is restricting, it's limiting sight around the curve.
Correct.
And so basically, if there's a car turning left onto Hardin Road and it's sitting there, someone comes around the curve, they can't see that vehicle last second. So we approached the landowner at the time, which we've found now that it's changed hands. Someone else has purchased the land in 2019. But the previous landowner wouldn't entertain any idea. Basically, VDOT wanted to come in and slope the bank down so that we can open up the sight distance around the curve. And Pam, I'm gonna ask you real quick, Pam, looking into it again, had found that the land had transferred to another owner in 2019. And Pam was gonna contact that owner, who live out of state or live.
I wasn't able to contact the phone. I mean, I've called that phone number several times and got no answer, so I don't know if it's no longer their number or what that issue is. So my next step is to send them a letter. They live in Richmond.
So what we're trying to do is contact the new landowner and find out if they will entertain the idea of allowing VDOT to come in and shave the bank down so that we can expose the sight distance around the curve. I've also talked with traffic engineering about alternate solutions or possible ideas that may help, help us in this situation. And the other idea was maybe the possibility of a turning lane, but that also at the same time will require width. So we're still going to have to contact this landowner.
Right.
So what we're hoping is, rather than having to purchase right of way to create a turn lane, that the landowner will allow us, not taking any right of way from them, but just allow us to slope the bank down and then reestablish a nice grass cover back and expose the sight distance around the curve. So we're working on that.
Okay.
And I'll keep, through Mitch, I'll keep you guys posted as to what our progress is once we've been able to get a hold of the landowner.
Sure. Thank you.
We can't purchase right away with maintenance funding, so if they don't want to donate or let us come out of the property to do what we plan to do, then it would have to become a different type of funding out of the Bristol district, a construction job.
Yeah, I understand.
I have a question. Would this project even qualify for smart scale funding?
Probably not, because traffic engineering did a kind of a quick run through just recently last week, and there's not been enough this is the sad thing about it is there's not enough accident data there to support funding through the smart scale process.
Right, I think there was
Like one,
traffic engineering informed me last week that I think there was one accident at the intersection, but it didn't have to do with sight distance. So,
yeah, I think it was fog. It was fog, I think it was fog.
okay, yeah, which still could be, you could consider that sight distance.
I just don't want to be that person that makes the accident chart, to show that we have an issue.
Right, and so I think there would have to be at least 3 within the last 3 years.
You have three, and the thing is, it's a benefit to cost ratio, and the accident data really bumps up the benefit for funding. And if you don't have that accident data, we don't really get the high benefit out of it. As compared to other projects, trying to get the same money.
So at this point, we're just in hopes that the landowner will allow us to slope the bank down.
I have a quick fix.
Mhm.
Under the bank, when you turn up Hidden Valley off 21, there's a driveway there to that home. There is an artesian well that drains into that ditch. But when they run over that, it runs across the road. And the last ice we had, somebody called me and they almost wrecked right there. And I've seen VDOT up there shoveling that out, but they just back over it, trying to get out of the driveway, I guess, but it ends up in the road. But
And that is that near that same intersection?
it's that little house under the road. And then you turn on to Hidden Valley. It's right here on the right, going toward Elk Creek.
Okay,
So
and
that's a no money fix.
So Hidden Valley connects to 21?
Yeah, but it's right before you get to Hidden Valley.
Okay.
okay.
Traveling north.
Yes. Mr. Fowler, like the discussion about Hardin Road, similar situation at the intersection of 58 and Sturgill's Road.
you were kind enough to just replace the bridge, which is great, but the trucks still run over your barrels because you haven't put the guardrails back up yet, and I would recommend don't put them up because they're gonna tear them down. And the reason they do is because when you're going west on 58, it's a sharp turn, and right there is that intersection. But when you're going east, which are all the big trucks, they can't see up that road because of the same thing. The land comes down abruptly right there at the road and blocks the view. And so they're afraid to pull over in the left-hand lane because somebody come around the curve and it's head-on collision. There's nothing they can do. So they stay in the right lane, tear your bridge down. The landowner, I talked to the landowner, I said, look, if VDOT would come in here and just shave this bank, you could see 200 yards up 58, which frankly would allow the big trucks that come back and forth through there to be able to see and have visibility to know that they could move out a little bit and go around. That's one you should look at.
So that's Route 58.
58 intersection of Sturgill's Road, and you just redid the bridge. Great bridge.
It's a few miles past that Upper Hilton Bridge.
Yes,
Going
going west.
okay, I know where it is.
Yeah, I mean, literally you come down a straightaway of about 500-600 yards downhill and into an abrupt turn. And where that turn is, the land just comes down, and it blocks vision both ways.
We can look at that if the property owners will cooperate. You know, it's something that we can look at.
Well, if you'll contact me, I'll make sure they cooperate.
Like the Hardin Road intersection, that property owner didn't want us on his property.
Yeah, well,
If they'll cooperate with us, we can.
seriously, if you don't mind, call me. I'll get Bobby to talk to you.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's undeveloped land. They own the entire ridge, and they know it's a problem.
Any kind of safety fixes like this, it's really good if we can do them low cost and not just
Absolutely.
a spot improvement kind of thing.
And those instances where we're allowed to do that without having to think about acquiring right away or have right away donated, if we can just use maintenance dollars to just soak the bank back and eliminate a safety issue, we're all in. So,
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of informational questions. Okay. On Old River Lane, there is the border between, North Carolina and Virginia occurs on Old River Lane. And there's a lot of work. I'm asking you this just for information, not for action, but just information. And there's a whole lot of work being done, like literally right on the border. And the work that's being done is coming across the border into Virginia and damaging the road in Virginia. How do you deal with something like that? Is that when it comes to crossing the border between two states? How would you guys deal with that?
Mitch mentioned this one to me. Okay. And what I was thinking first is that we may have to send our crews out there and let's assess what they're doing and what type of damage they're causing us.
Okay.
I think Mitch mentioned that it was some like drainage and some erosion issues.
Yeah.
So we'll look into it, and if it's causing that, we'll just have to contact NCDOT and find out who's over that project and see if we can stop what's happening as far as the damage.
I appreciate it.
And usually in that case, I mean, if we make it known that this is occurring, I would think that they would be a good neighbor and work with us.
The other question is, several people have asked me across the county about who do you go to if a road is flooding on a regular basis? Who do you report that to? How does that process work? If a road floods on a regular basis,
me.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So you just have Mitch send me an email.
Okay.
And we'll review it. I think we had an issue in on a road in your area, and we've looked at it numerous times and saw the email response. Basically, Rich had looked at that one, and they found that it only occurs during heavy flood events where we're getting widespread flooding.
Yeah.
And that, for most conditions, it's doing its job, but I mean, that's not always the case.
Sure.
So what's the location?
Well, I was just wondering on
Oh, okay.
a county-wide basis, if, there's several people have said their road floods and, you know, what can we do about it? And I just was trying to find out,
Yeah, just
from a
let us
process
know,
standpoint, what we would need to do.
and we'll look into it because a lot of
Okay.
times Pam does our drainage as well.
Okay,
And so basically, if we're getting complaints on a certain route or a certain culvert pipe, or if it's just flooding one person's yard or what
Yeah.
have you, we'll come out and look at it and see if there's a better way we can do the drainage or
Okay.
enhance the drainage to where we can eliminate that.
great. Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Maybe sometime look, while you're at Little River, look at Link Road where the road's coming apart. It's lots of deep potholes. I crossed it yesterday. Link Road.
So that's off of Little River.
No, it's off of the old Maywood Road, but
Oh,
it's close. I mean, where your Little River's just a ways down the road.
okay. And just a quick recap to make sure I got everything. We're looking at Old River Lane, checking out the NCDOT issue, Link Road potholes. We're gonna check the low water bridge on Little River Road. Archery Lane, Country Lane, we're gonna look at condition of the pavement, see if it qualifies for the paving schedule. We're gonna look at the spring issue on Route 21 near Hidden Valley Road. We'll look at the issue for Mr. Rebels on Route 58 at the intersection of Sturgill Road. And when we're ready to come and look at that, I may contact you first. So basically we'll come out, or we may look at it first, and then if it does look feasible, that we can tilt the slope back, I'll get with you and we'll get that land on. I didn't want to, I'll bring up one, just to let you know where we're at on Middle Fork, where we're dealing with the cars in the right of way.
You saw my response.
Yes.
Email.
Yes, and just to give you an update on where we're at, I've contacted the Virginia State Police, because obviously VDOT's not an enforcement agency, so I can't just send the troops out there and tell them to start moving cars. So I've contacted the state police to work with them so that we can see if we can find a way that we can legally go in there and remove the vehicles. And so I spoke with, today, after talking with the headquarters, the lieutenant at the headquarters, I was contacted today by First Sergeant David Reedy, who's over the Grayson County area. And after talking with him, basically we came to the conclusion that we probably need to, before we move forward, we need to have a meeting with myself and Pam as VDOT representatives. Mr. Reedy as a Virginia State Police representative. And he also suggested that since we're dealing with vehicles and, VIN numbers and who they're registered to and things of that nature, that he has a contact with the DMV that he thinks should be in a meeting with you and Jada and Mitch. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of coordinate with all you guys and set a date so that we can just kind of sit down and hash out what the next move is and how we do it in a way that we don't end up in court or whatever.
For the rest of you, the problem is on Middle Fork Road, there are property owners who have junk vehicles in the right of way. Now, those vehicles have been there for 7 years and 7 months, because they were there the day I moved into my house, a mile from there.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not just recent show-ups on the road. And as I told you in that email, diplomatic measures will not work. Bring the National Guard. And and move them out.
Yeah, they've been there longer than that, because when we Pam reviewed the route file.
I'm serious, these people will, I mean, you will literally have to tow it out.
Well, our first move was Pam and I went door to door and we were trying to, have.
And a lot of people responded, didn't they?
Yeah, actually,
I mean,
3 of the
some
property owners.
Yeah, several did.
And actually, there's another property owner that Pam is working with now that they are saying they're gonna move theirs. But there's gonna be 2 that were no response. So, so we need to set up.
Yeah, that's.
And that way we know how we can move forward legally within the Virginia code, so that we're not doing anything that would be conveyed by a property owner, that we're stealing their vehicle or what have you. We have to make sure we do it the right way if we're gonna do this.
Well, and just so you know, it's just not my pet peeve. I've had 8 of my constituents who live on that road, started a year ago, hounding me about, if they park their, on the shoulder, we're just gonna start parking all the farm equipment in the middle of the road. If VDOT's not gonna do anything about it, we'll just have hard surface parking for our vehicles. And they were just fed up with it because they have tried to get them to move them, and they've been basically told.
Right, and so I'll go back further than the 7 years and 7 months. I found in the route file that letters were sent to these same property owners 12 years ago.
At least.
By
I'm
Jeff
telling you
Russell.
folks, these vehicles have been here a long time.
Yeah, and the request, it was the same type letter that we sent, they were sent by Jeff Russell about 12 years ago, requesting that they move the vehicles. And like I said, again, VDOT, we don't have tow trucks, we don't have storage facilities, and we don't have the uniform and the badge and the gun that can say, hey, we're gonna take these cars. So we're gonna have to figure out how the state police can help.
From the case, building your case standpoint, maybe on the legal side, I thought the county had in their zoning ordinance about 5 vehicles or more were not allowed to be stored because it becomes like a junkyard or something. Is that useful to you all?
It is, and that's why we need to include Jada in the meeting and Mitch, because that actually came up today. The trooper brought that up. He said, I'm pretty sure there's a county ordinance. And so basically what we need to do, we need to meet, we need to hash through what the ordinance says and what teeth we have to actually to do something.
Sounds like a good plan.
I think 3 unlicensed.
I thought they changed it to 5 because of all your vehicles.
So I'll be in contact with Mitch and I'll work with the state trooper and we'll work out a date that we can all meet.
Have y'all had a chance to look at Cabin Creek? The bridge there?
No, I'm not looking at Cabin Creek.
I've sent,
I think so.
yeah, I sent, Mr. Fowler, as one of the requests. I mean, there's a hole that I can almost stand in. And it's about 3.5 feet deep, about this big around, right as you go across the bridge. And the really bad thing is the water that's going in it, if you go over to the embankment, you can see where it's washing about 6 feet down. And if we have a couple more bad storms, the way the water flows, you're gonna lose an embankment right there at that bridge. That's and I mean, it's a real hazard if somebody goes through there at nighttime because there are no street lights, there's nothing. And they run off in that, it's gonna shock them.
Yeah. Really, after this meeting, Wilson District ought to be in pretty good shape.
We're gonna clean it up, buddy.
Okay, let's see what happened. The Cabin Creek request, I sent it to the area headquarters.
Okay.
And then in that same email, we had a couple other Middle Fork and a couple other things. So the area headquarters has not gotten back with me yet on what they found. So,
Okay, thank you.
So obviously, if there's the issue that you explained, that they will fix it.
Okay.
But I'll let you know once they have it.
Okay.
And I guess with that said, I will let Pam talk about the avenues for bringing roads into the system.
Hey, you guys, your folks do a fantastic job. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you big time.
We try to be a good partner with our county, so.
You are.
You are that.
Okay, Pam?
I'm Pam Heath, I work today, I work for you.
So with,
Can you hear me, Mitch?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Do you have a private road that you wanna bring into the system? Is that, or that you're?
yes, Ms. Sutherland had, Too Steep Lane. That was one that you, looked into.
Is it really steep? Is that why it's got that road, or that name? Because we can't bring a road into the system if it's greater than 16% slope.
I have no idea.
I mean, no, I wouldn't, we'll have to check it and
I think
see.
it's only 15.
15 right now.
Also had the Apple Loop off of Route 94, to check about that.
Let me make sure, too steep.
And so, Pam, I didn't mean to just throw you in here, but basically what we're doing is, if you would, I know we responded back with the regulations, but just kind of discuss what types of, what ways can we bring roads into the system, revenue sharing and what have you.
Okay, there's two ways to bring a road into the state maintenance system. The first is if it's an older road and it's been in use for 20 years or more, and that's and I can give you a handout.
Email that to me.
It has to be verified by plat or deed that it has been in use for 20 years or more as a public road, then we can bring that in as a rural addition. And the rural addition policy is 20 years. Okay, I'll just go through the list here. It has to be in public use for at least 20 years, be available to the public for 24 hours a day, because we have some roads that have been gated over some of that time, so it couldn't have been gated. It has a right of way of 40 feet minimum in width, and that 40 feet can be deeded and platted to VDOT for public use. It has to be sufficient to permit future maintenance, be unencumbered by utility and or structure replacement easements or restrictions. It must serve at least 3 occupied dwellings, be able to safely handle the traffic volume, and it must connect to other roads already maintained. We have to have, it has to be connected to it can't just be by itself.
It's off of Rock Creek.
Okay, so if it's already in our system, then it can make a connection
And
to a road.
just to get down the weeds just a little more, go back to the unencumbered by utilities.
Okay, unencumbered by utilities. We had, just to give you an example, we had a road in Wythe County that we were working to bring into the system, and we found out there was a gas line. I think it was Columbia, maybe, but anyway, there was a gas line that was part of the, it crossed the road twice. And we had to work with the gas company to give us an agreement that the gas line would fall below VDOT in the hierarchy. Because if that road was in our system and the gas line came to us for a permit, then they would be permitted in our right of way. Because they were there before, in this instance, they have to sign an in-place agreement, but they were already in place when we brought the road in, but VDOT has the right of way. And they didn't want to do that. And it took a long time to get this worked out with their attorneys that they would sign an in-place agreement with, and that's just something we call it's an in-place agreement. But so that if you've got any other utilities and AEP and like county water and sewer, usually those are very easy to get. AEP will sign those off and give it to us in order to bring the road into the system. But it has to be either unencumbered or they have to be able to sign it back to VDOT the right of way.
There's Too Steep.
Is that too steep? It doesn't look that steep from that, but you can't tell from plan views.
And now with that said, I don't want to hijack y'all, let's just be a team here for a minute. So,
Go right ahead.
basically, what we can do is we look at the route. We can look and see some of the criteria that she's mentioning. We can look at it and decide whether or not it meets it, like for instance, the slope. And then we can also look into if there is a gas company or some utility that's there that we're going to have to work with. And yeah, so we can look at all those things. And then too, the other thing is as far as the timeline, how long it takes once you apply. So
well, you have to go through a process where we gather the deed, we get some information, we have to have a resolution from the county and some other documents such as that. and then we send them to central office, and they have to review it. And it takes a while sometimes, it can take as much as 6 months, but once they review it, they'll send it back to us and accept the road, and then we'll, and so, getting ahead of myself, so we got, that's how you bring a road in, that's one way you bring a road in by rural addition. And then sometimes when you need improvements on that road, to bring them up to current standard, current VDOT standard, those improvements have to be paid for. Normally VDOT does not pay for those, but the county can apply for revenue sharing funds where the county pays half and VDOT pays half. And that's what I had in the list too. The county can pay for it out of their general fund, and I got all this online, so there's a website you can go, you can read it at your leisure if you want to, but the funding, the half funding can come from the county's general fund, special assessment of the landowners, revenue derived from the sale of bonds, or our program. So it's however the county wants to do their half. And that's if you're approved for the revenue sharing program, then the county would pay for half, VDOT pays for the other half. And if it's a long road, it could be, expensive. Like we went with one yesterday in Bland County that was very short. It was only like $22,000. But a longer road could be $100,000, $150,000, something like that. So the property owners would have to agree to pay for half.
Mr. Lynn Adams, the gentleman who called me, and he said, I was told to call you, I just want to do everything the right way. So.
But we'll go out and look at it, and we'll tell you if it would meet our criteria for a rural addition. So it's probably been in public use for a while, 20 years or more. If it hasn't, the second way to bring a road into the system is by the secondary street acceptance regulations. And that is, secondary street acceptance is not, you cannot use revenue sharing. So either the county or the developer would have to pay the complete costs to bring it up to current standard. Those are usually a little tougher because it's very expensive. But that's if it's been in existence for less than 20 years. But those are the two ways, and then the revenue sharing funds, we split the cost with you. And the issue with revenue sharing right now, that program, is the pandemic kind of pushed us out as far as allocations. So the applications that were made for the revenue sharing program in 2019, they have been pushed out to 24, 25 years. 2024 and 2025 before they'll be funded. And right now, if you, I sent everybody, I think I sent you and Mitch and Jada an email about the upcoming application process for revenue sharing. And those funds, if you apply this year for revenue sharing, you're looking at 2027, 2028 allocation. So everything's got pushed way back. So that is a concern if you want to go. If you want to use revenue sharing to pay for these roads, it'll be a while. I think that's all I got. You anything? Miss anything?
So just to recap too, just to make sure, and I'm sorry, we just want to make sure, I know we received a request from him, one from her, and we'll go with you those routes. What was your route again?
That's Applewood. It's off of Route 94. It's approximately 1 mile above the intersection of Scenic and Rivers. And it's on the Scenic, but except for Riverside Drive, approximately 1 mile. But I think that particular lane is going to be longer than 20 years, and the width looks pretty compatible.
It needs to be a minimum of 16 feet. We have to improve it to 16 feet.
I know the travels, I measured it with my tape. I went down there the other day. It's 20 foot in best I can figure.
I helped do that subdivision over 20 years ago, and it was class 2 subdivision, 16 foot, 2 foot shoulders. So it's class 2 approved then.
Okay. And we'll take a look at it and whatever. And what I'm talking about revenue sharing funds is if there's any improvements needed. most of the time there is, it's rare that if you come on a road that's current VDOT standard, so, the improvements needed to bring it to current VDOT standard would need to be paid for either by revenue sharing or the property owners. Linda, can I give you these, or? Sure. This is just, I can hand them out.
And if you go with rural addition instead of revenue sharing, or the other two options you mentioned, rural addition
And secondary street acceptance.
secondary street acceptance, are those a shorter timeline as far as weight?
No, secondary street acceptance, we have to have plans, current plans of the road. That's why I said it's a longer process and more expensive. You'll have to have engineered plans of what it would take to bring that road up to current VDOT standard. And they have to be sealed by an engineer, and then we review them, central office reviews them. It's a longer process to get acceptance for the secondary street acceptance. And VDOT will pay no cost. We don't pay for the engineering part of it or any improvements. You just come to us after it's done, and then we bring it in if it meets our standards.
Did I understand you said you are going to make a visit?
Yeah, we'll look at Applewood and tell you, like, there's a lot of little things that I didn't put in this list, but like the grade, it can't be greater than 16%. We have looked at some drainage issues and that kind of thing, and also AEP and those, if the poles are like too close to the road, revenue sharing funds will not pay to have those relocated. So that's all on the cost of either the county, or the county would bear that cost for the property owners. And fencing, if any cross pipes or cross utilities, whatever's in the way out there that might need to be relocated or removed, VDOT couldn't pay for it with revenue sharing funds.
And sometimes issues like, you'll have like a well that's shared by another property or whatever, and it crosses the road, or things of that nature come into play. And
to bring the road into the system, we have to have the right of way. We have to have a fee simple right of way. We can't have a prescriptive easement. So it has to be platted to be as right of way. We can help you through all that though. But we'll take a look at it, and if it looks like it meets our criteria, we can work with you and do what we need to do to bring it in.
Thank you very much.
I will call Mr. Adams tomorrow and tell him you are gonna look at it, because I told him I'd keep him informed.
Okay. That sounds good. Anything?
Yeah.
And you can just let him know that it's not cheap, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, and it's expensive.
It'll be worth it when we start pushing snow on it, so that's the upside.
And is that all you have for us?
Yes, sir.
And I know I'm with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to finally meet you all.
Yeah. I know I'm a With County native, but I'd like to donate at least 10 pounds. I'd like to donate at least 10 pounds to your Lose a Ton.
Oh, yeah. You're in.
Are you all going 21?
Yes.
You will see that water across the road before you get to Hidden Valley.
Okay.
I'm going 58, so
I'll be going there.
There's water up there.
All right, thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll look for a motion to hold a public hearing on May 13th on close VDOT secretary.
Second.
All in favor, aye. And next will be board appointments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Let's see, for the EDA, Supervisor Rebels had recommended Lisa Blevins, and Lisa Blevins is interested in participating, so that would be in addition to the EDA. Grayson County Senior Advocacy Committee still has a vacancy.
I've got a name, it's just gotta give it to Linda to send their application.
I sent Miss Landwaller an application, but I have not heard back from her.
Okay, Lauren Webster has
Okay.
also said she'll do it, and I've got her email, I'll text it to you.
Okay.
Great. Planning Commission, there's a vacancy in the Providence District. I don't know if we have any update on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Search goes on.
Okay. Whitfield Community College, Robert Wingate's term expires on June 30th, 2021. and attached is a board application from Patsy McKnight, who would be willing to serve. That's it.
So we want to wait on yours till she gets the paperwork.
No applications in yet.
Okay. So if we vote on Miss Lisa Levin's EDA and the Whipple's broker, that's it,
That's a great thing.
do those both same time?
Mm-hmm.
Your motion, your second,
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Levin's and Miss Mack. County Administrator report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to give you an update on what's happening in the broadband arena, but I'd like to, with your permission, ask Mr. Caudill to update us on the public hearing that just occurred.
Okay. I just attended the public hearing for the special use permit with APCO in the town of Independence. They're looking to build a building on Austin Street outside of Independence. This will house the telecommunications equipment from Gigabeam. They had to seek a special use permit because it is located, their zoning has it in residential. So Amanda and APCO and her team did a presentation to the council. I went up and spoke in support of it. The council was very appreciative of APCO and their efforts in bringing broadband to the area, and they were very supportive, and it did pass unanimously.
Thank you, Carl. Some other highlights. AEP has run an estimated 43 miles of fiber in Grayson County as of the end of March.
Say again?
AEP has run an estimated 43 miles of fiber in Grayson County as of the end of March. Segment 3, which is from Elk Creek to Liberty Hill, is now completed. Segment 4, from Liberty Hill to Green Valley, and segment 5, from Liberty Hill to Freeze, are the next segments to be constructed. The total fiber project percentage is 18%. You heard about Independence Town Council. Once the building is complete, regarding what Carl just spoke about, Gigabeam can begin connecting customers to the fiber. Estimated time of completion of the building?
Mid-May. They said 6 weeks for the construction is their estimated time frame.
That's the broadband date. Anything you want to add? Okay. I wanted to let you know that we've been, of course, we're pleased that the rescue plan money is going to be coming in. It comes in mid-May. And so we've been trying to get the rules in detail from the federal government. They have not been issued in detail yet. They've been issued in a broad sense, but not in detail. But the most glaring need we have that we would really like to, that we would recommend that we use the money on is infrastructure. Infrastructure, we have major infrastructure problems that need to be taken care of immediately in the county. But we also have a need for some additional money to be put forward towards broadband in order to try to help the broadband project get completed. I would say, from my team's perspective, the number one, if we can do it, the number one need for the money that's coming in right now is some basic infrastructure repairs that need to be done in the county to prevent much higher expenses down the road. So we've got infrastructure, we've got broadband. It would be great to be able to do some additional, provide some additional help to the emergency services folks. It'd be great to be able to help small business, but probably a large chunk of what we have coming in, if it's allowable, would, in our opinion, should go towards infrastructure. That's all I have on my report.
One thing, what about the healthcare, grant, how's it doing?
It's doing well. They're seeing about 60 patients per week. So it's doing well. They're very pleased with
Is
it.
that hitting their numbers, what they
It's
were?
exceeding their numbers a little bit beyond what they expected.
Okay.
And we're talking to them about 2 other sites in Grayson County, and it's moving along at a pretty fast rate. So, we've changed the concept from, we tried to get the FQHC, one centralized place. And we didn't get the FQHC, primarily because of what happened in Puerto Rico. And then needing to put 10 FQHCs in Puerto Rico out of the 20. But instead, what's happening might even be better, and that is we're looking at 3 or 4 smaller facilities that are spread out throughout the county. And it's sort of a concept that we're looking at for other things too. We're looking at for recreation, for wellness. The idea of not having to have one centralized location for a service, but smaller satellites that work together in coordination, but are more easily available to the people throughout the county. So that's what's happening.
Anything else? Questions? All right. Register speakers.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, there is one other thing, if you don't mind. I do want the people of the board and the people of the county to know that we are experiencing a pretty rapid increase in the number of coronavirus cases. This is happening throughout the whole country, but we've almost tripled the number of cases that we had 2 months ago. So we need to not ease up and think everything's over. We went from a low of 25 active cases here in Grayson County, and now we have 68. The highest that we had ever reached was about 154. So we're definitely below that high level, but we're seeing 2 or 3 new cases being added per day right now, so we need to be.
Today was 2.
Pardon me?
Today we had 2.
2 more. So I just want the people of the county to realize we still have to maintain our safety measures, not ease up. And, we've got different strains of this coming through. The whole situation is not reconciled yet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no registered speakers. Now we go to the supervisor's time. Look for a motion to go into closed session for discussion of personnel A1. Business A5. Legal matters A7.
So moved.
So,
Favor aye.
Aye.
We are in closed session. 5-minute break.
Yeah, please.
You're late with us, Linda.
You're
She'll
welcome.
take off tomorrow.
Yeah, that makes my hand shake to think about it.
Mike made the motion, Tom second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome, you owe me.
I know.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good, okay. All right, we're back in open session. Approval of the board that we discussed nothing but A1, A5, A7, and 29 of the Code of Virginia. Ms. Sutherland,
I so certify.
Mr. Rebels,
I so certified.
Mr. Hash,
I so certify.
Mr. Van,
I so certify.
and I also certify. I hear a motion to adjourn.
I will.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Get on the land.